You know, it's fascinating, isn't it? How the mind, without even realizing it, can shift. From holding on to a story of the past to embracing something entirely new. And as you hear these words, maybe a part of you has already started to notice that those old feelings, those thoughts of guilt, shame, or even doubt, they were just a part of something that you thought you needed to hold on to. But isn't it curious how easily you can let go of something that you don't need anymore? And you may not have realized this before, but every moment, even those you might have judged harshly, taught you something valuable, a strength, a resource, a lesson. Because deep inside, isn't it true? You've always been doing the best that you could with what you knew at the time. And that knowledge, even now, begins to settle in, like a gentle reminder of how much you've grown, how far you've come. And maybe, just maybe, you've already started to notice when you think about selfishness or greed. It was never really about the things you took. It was always about a feeling that you thought you lacked. But isn't it reassuring to know that abundance, it isn't something outside of you. It's something that's within you, a wellspring, a source that never runs dry. And every breath that you take reminds you that you're connected to it. As you think about that now, imagine this, a tree deep in the forest. It doesn't question whether it deserves the sunlight or the rain. It simply grows, reaching upward, grounding itself deeper. And you're the tree, rooted, expanding, receiving, giving. You might even begin to wonder now what it feels like to recognize that your value, those deep guiding principles, they're not something that you compromise. They're something you realign with. Every choice you make, every step forward, brings you closer to living fully, authentically in harmony with who you truly are. And isn't it fascinating how the more aligned you are, the more abundance flows to you? Because you see, the idea of lack is just an illusion. And illusions, like shadows, they vanish the moment you shine a light on them. And that light is already within you. So notice how that feels. To realize that you've always had enough. That you've always been enough. And your journey, every step, every stumble, has been leading you to this very moment. A moment where you remember how grounded, how spiritual, how complete you already are. And it's okay now to release any old stories about who you were or who you thought you needed to be. Because as you know, those stories, they served a purpose. But they're not who you are anymore. And you might even begin to feel that shift, as if some part of you already understands that abundance, love, joy, and integrity, they aren't things you strive for. They're things you simply embody effortlessly. Now, isn't it exciting to know that every time you think about abundance, you're programming your mind to notice it, to attract it, to create it. And every time you choose to align with your values, you strengthen that connection to a deeper part of yourself that's always known the way forward. And as this realization deepens, you begin to feel a sense of freedom, don't you? A lightness, as if the weight of those old feelings just melt away. And from this moment on, whether consciously or unconsciously, you might find yourself noticing little shifts, a new way of thinking, a kinder way of speaking to yourself, a more abundant way of seeing the world. And with each breath, each step, you move closer to the version of yourself that you've always known that you could be, grounded, spiritual, whole, already enough. And as you listen, or even if a part of you simply feels these words, it's as though a quiet understanding begins to settle in, like a seed deeply planted, effortlessly growing in the rich soil of your mind. And isn't it interesting how when you focus on a feeling of guilt or shame, it's like standing too close to a painting. The colours seem chaotic, the shapes unclear, but take a step back and suddenly the whole picture comes into focus. And perhaps you realise now that guilt was never a punishment. It was always a signal, a whisper from your deepest wisdom, reminding you of the kind of person that you choose to be. A compass, a guide, not to weigh you down, but to point you forward, toward integrity, toward clarity. Because isn't it true? The past, it's a place you visited, but it's not where you live. Those choices, those moments that you once judged, they're simply attempts to meet a need. And as you think about that now, notice how every behaviour, no matter how misunderstood, carries within it a positive intention. Even greed, even selfishness. Weren't they just strategies? Ways to seek safety, to feel secure, to believe that something was missing. But here's the truth, and it's a truth that grows clearer with every breath. There was never anything missing, and the very thought that there was only an illusion. So imagine this, a person thirsty in the desert, carrying a jug filled with water, but convinced it's empty. And all along, the abundance they sought was already within reach. And isn't it fascinating how, the more you realise this truth, the more naturally your choices begin to shift. As if some part of you, maybe without even trying, already understands that true abundance, it isn't measured by what you gather, but by what you allow yourself to receive. So just imagine now how light feels when you no longer need to chase or cling, but simply open to the flow of everything that's already here. Imagine for a moment that sense of openness, where every breath is a reminder that you're enough, every heartbeat a rhythm of worthiness, and with every choice aligned with your deepest values, you become more of who you truly are. Because here's something you know, even if you don't know that you knew it. Integrity, it isn't a burden, it's a foundation. It's the very thing that grounds you, like the roots of a mighty oak. The deeper your roots grow, the higher you rise. Stability, strength, unshakable trust in yourself. And now picture this, a river. It doesn't force its way forward. It flows around stones, over rocks, always moving, always receiving, always giving. And like that river, you too can trust that the path unfolds before you with ease. And as you follow the natural current of your own highest intentions, isn't it reassuring to feel that the scarcity you once feared was nothing but a passing cloud, a shadow, a trick of the mind? And the mind, it's so clever, so resourceful, can now find new ways to see abundance everywhere. Because it's there, in the sunrise, in the kind word, in the breath that you just took. And even now, as you hear these words, something shifts. It's as if your mind is rewiring itself, connecting patterns of scarcity to feelings of fullness, linking old beliefs of lack to new understandings of plenty. Because now you know abundance, generosity, integrity. They're not conditions to be met. They're expressions of who you are, already whole, already aligned. And isn't it fascinating how as you look forward into your future, a different sense of security begins to take shape. A calm assurance that no matter what happens, your values guide you. Your choices reflect your truth. And compromise, it's not even necessary, because abundance flows where truth resides. And from this place of knowing, everything changes, not through force, but through flow, not from scarcity, but from trust. And isn't it freeing to finally feel that, to let go of the weight of what no longer serves you, and as you step into the lightness of what's always been yours, just let that truth settle in, deeper and deeper still. It's already a part of you, because it always has been.